record. All right, we're live. Welcome to episode 62 of the Baduk Weiqi Podcast. I'm Dai.
And I'm Gaza.
Gaza, this week it's massive because
something really big happened this week.
Yeah, something really big. We're going to talk about, of course,
the
that's
Lanke right. Cup. Yeah, no, I'm going to reveal it right now.
Yeah.
I finally got a Fox account.
Right. Yeah, okay. And also this Fox account. We're going to talk about Fox gambling. I got a reason to believe. And of course, the second biggest thing this week, of course, was the Lanke Cup final between Shin Jinseo.
That's right. That also happened.
Yes, yes. And then we're gonna review, go back in time a little bit to talk about the results of the Qingyuan Cup quarterfinal, which was very interesting as well, Gaza. But let's talk about the big one. Your Fox account. What's happened there?
Well, I got one.
Okay, never mind. Next thing, Lanke Cup. So the Lanke Cup, it's a bit of a funny thing, Gaza. They played the round of 32 all the way to semifinals, but they left the finals a couple of months later, which just happened this week. I think it just happened on the Wednesday, and then we had the Friday game and the Saturday game. So, Gaza, if you recall, who are the finalists in the Lanke Cup this year?
Yes, the finalists were Shin Jinseo and Gu Zihao.
Yes, and basically, I guess it wouldn't be, surprising to say that people were thinking that Gu Zihao might be a little bit of an underdog here.
Definitely, Gu Zihao was the underdog. Shin Jinseo was a strong favorite. However, it is being hosted in China, so they were playing face to face in China.
Yep.
And typically, historically, Chinese players tend to do well in the China-hosted tournaments. I mean, they generally do well in all of the world majors, but particularly well in the China-hosted tournaments. For instance, the recently discontinued Weiqi Cup, I believe, was won on all occasions by Chinese players, and the M. Lily Cup has been won 3 out of 4 times by Chinese players. So Chinese players tend to do particularly well in Chinese tournaments. So Gu Zihao had the hometown advantage, but you would have to say that Shin Jinseo was probably still considered to be the favorite.
Yes. Well, in fact, in Chinese media, they talked about a Chinese tournament Joseki. And Joseki is that Chinese players tend to win the first edition of newly created Chinese tournaments. I guess this didn't hold true for the Qingyuan Cup, but I believe for most other competitions that was true. So therefore, it was called.
Well, the In Cup also was not won by a Chinese player initially.
In Cup is a bit of a controversial one because technically it's started by a Taiwanese billionaire. So okay. I mean, Taiwanese players do play in their own association, so it is a little bit of a controversial idea. But some people would love your idea, Gaza, but definitely not some people.
What about the Qingyuan Cup?
The Qingyuan Cup. Well, I'm talking about open tournaments.
Open tournaments. Okay.
Open tournaments. Okay, so Gaza, game 1 of the Lanke Cup. People obviously were saying that Shin Jinseo is the favorite, and I guess the results really proved that Shin Jinseo should really be considered a favorite because he completely destroyed Gu Zihao, didn't he?
Well, before we go into the game, I must say, so I do recall last week you were congratulating Shin Jinseo on winning the Quzhou-Lanke Cup. At the end of the podcast, that's how confident you were that he was that Shin Jinseo was going to win it.
Well, in fact, Gaza, I'll tell you how confident I was. I bet all of my 100 million worth of Fox coins on Shin Jinseo winning.
Wow, that's a lot of Fox coins.
Yes.
You'd almost be tricked into thinking that they had some value.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Well, I
but
mean, every 5 minutes you can get about 50,000 worth. Okay, so just calculate how long it took me to accumulate that. Of course.
wow, I think I will not do that.
Okay.
But yes, let's go on to game one.
Game one, yes.
And yes, Shin Jinseo had a fairly good win in game one. Gu Zihao never really had much of a chance. Shin
Yeah.
Jinseo was white in this game, and it is considered among professionals, I believe, that white has a slight advantage under
Right.
Chinese rules
Yes.
because the komi is 7.5.
Yep.
So black needs to essentially get 8 points more than white on the board.
Yep.
And Gu Zihao never managed to breach that gap
Yep.
in this game.
Now, Gaza, there was an interesting question. Why can't Chinese rules have 6.5 komi?
Well, to be honest, I think that they can have 6.5 komi. There is the note that 6.5 is almost identical to 5.5 under Chinese rules because they use area scoring, not territory scoring.
Yeah.
Although I believe there are some rare cases where you can have a 6.5. You can have a player having an odd number of points or an even number of points more because of sekis.
Right. Yep.
So in sekis, sometimes 6.5 and 5.5 does make a difference.
Right. Yep.
But it's quite rare. But yeah, essentially because you're using area scoring, every sort of extra point of area you have is 1 point of area that the opponent has less. So usually the differences are always going to be odd numbers.
Yep.
So 5 or 7.
Yep.
So yeah, essentially it's been a long time since 5.5 has been used as komi. So they don't use 5.5 anymore in Korea, so they don't use it in China. So basically, the next realistic step up is 7.5.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess given that there are 361 points on the board, if you use area scoring, then the total, unless you have like 6 sekis and stuff, the total territory between black and white must sum up to 361. So
Yes.
So therefore, one of them must be an even number. One of them must be an odd number.
Yes. So if you think about it, if black has 183 points on the board, he'll be ahead by 5.
Yes.
On the board.
Yes.
Because white will have 178.
Yeah.
But if black has one more point, 184,
Yeah.
then white will have 177, and so the difference will be 7.
Yeah.
So in that sense, a 5.5 komi and a 6.5 komi is identical.
Exactly. Yes.
Because black can lead by either 5 or 7.
Yes.
That is, of course, there is the edge case where there could be sekis. But once again, it's not very common. Yes. Sekis, of course, they do happen, but it's uncommon.
Yes.
So it's not really considered to be a difference maker.
So typically you can't really have that. So in this game, this is how the first game ended. Between Gu Zihao and Shin Jinseo. As you mentioned, Gu Zihao is black. As you can see here, there's quite a bit of dead groups in black's groups. So this whole group of black is dead. It's trying to enter the capturing race with this white, but it's a pretty kind of hopeless capturing race. White is definitely going to win there. So yep. So that's how Gu Zihao ended the first game. It was not let's say a close fight. And so therefore, people didn't really, I guess, have much hope for Shin Jinseo. For Gu Zihao.
Well, I must say though, I was watching. There was some live streams, which I found to be interesting because usually China struggles to operate cameras in
Okay.
rooms that hold Weiqi games.
Yep.
Historically, but this time we had some good camera work, and I must say, even though Shin Jinseo won this game and won it without much difficulty,
Yeah.
I was noticing like his body language, and he wasn't very like assertive when he was placing the stones. Like
Right.
even at the beginning, he seemed to be like when he was placing the stones, he seemed to sort of be in two minds and sort of hesitant and stuff. He, he it may just be me interpreting things strangely, but he didn't seem very confident.
Mm.
Um, mind you, of course, he won, so hindsight, in hindsight, whatever. But I've heard stories about Lee Sedol. One of his strengths was just his intimidation,
Right. Yes.
right? When placing the stones and things like that.
Yep.
And Shin Jinseo didn't have that intimidation, which I found surprising because I've watched a lot of live streams with Shin Jinseo, and he can be quite intimidating.
Yes.
But yeah, they seem to have some nerves. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's quite interesting. But of course, Shin Jinseo, by all accounts, people would have. I guess it's fair to say that he's won the first game fairly convincingly. So, and given this is a best of three, people I guess were already writing Gu Zihao off after the first game, and I don't know if we can read too
Well, I
much.
know one person who was writing him off. Yeah.
Yep, $100 million Fox coins worth. So now I don't know how much people can read into this, but after the first game, Shin Jinseo and Shin Minjun, who's Shin Jinseo's second, started playing some chess to relax. So they were starting the London opening instead of the Mies Flying Dagger. So I don't know what's happening there, but this is very interesting. So this is them playing their chess.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they even had a chessboard there.
Yeah, wow. Well, mind you, this is well, I guess chessboard would be available everywhere in China, I guess. Okay, so they were playing. Never mind. So after the first game, which was played on Wednesday, they had to wait. They were given a 1 day of rest, and then the games resumed on a Friday, which is the game second. Now, in basically the Chinese team, what they have done is, you can see here. There's a very notable Chinese player here, which is Mi Yuting. Now, apparently, the Chinese team have chosen to give Gu Zihao 3 seconds. So, and they were chosen by Gu Zihao. So Gu Zihao chose Shaker and Mi Yuting and Ding Hao as his second. So you can see Shaker here. So they were helping him prepare for the games. Now Shaker is especially interesting because Shaker is scheduled to play Shin Jinseo in the In Cup final, which is also going to be a best of 3. So very interesting choice there. And Gu Zihao did say that having them there really helped him quite a bit. And you being the national team coach said that he's organized 5 high quality training games for Gu Zihao. I don't know what these training games mean, but I guess they are meant to help him get informed and prepared. But on the Korean side, it was just the national team coach Mok Jin-sok plus Shin Min-jun, who's accompanied Shin Jinseo to the game. So definitely in terms of the home ground advantage, China have brought in more firepower, definitely more bodies to help Gu Zihao prepare for these games. So.
Yeah, and the Chinese contingent definitely has an advantage there because Gu Zihao can pick players that are of comparable level to him. Like, for instance, Mi Ting and Ding Hao, you would probably say are around about the same strength as Gu Zihao. Shaker maybe a little bit below that.
Yep.
Whereas Shin Jinseo doesn't really have anyone of comparable strength to him.
Right, yeah.
He doesn't really get challenged very much in Korea, and that could be, that could be quite important.
Yeah, and when we looked at the rating points difference between the two, which is actually, if you look at Go ratings as of today, you notice that Shin Jinseo is sitting at 3,884, and then you got Gu Zihao sitting at 3,648. So that's a total 240 points behind, and that translates into a winning percentage of just about 23% for Gu Zihao. So it's not going to be easy in a best of three, and he's already lost one. So the chances of him coming back and winning 2 games to take the title, I calculated as at 5%. So that is going to be a tough uphill battle for Gu Zihao. But we got some really interesting interviews. One of them was Shin Jinseo before the game. He said his form is great, and he will not be complacent. He will not want to leave behind a regrettable result. So he's very confident before the games. And after winning the first game, Shin Jinseo said the real battle to determine final victory starts now. So he's definitely not in a complacent mood. So he really wants to win this, I guess. So, Gaza, let's move on to Game 2. Now, you mentioned a very interesting statistic for Game 2 for Shin Jinseo in International World Major Finals. Gaza, do you remember what it was?
No, please enlighten me.
You mentioned something about Shin Jinseo's record when he's lost Game 2 of the best of threes.
I said no, his record when he's lost a game in a world major.
Right, a game. Okay, that's even stronger.
Yes.
Okay.
So in every world major that he's won, he's won with a perfect record. Every single game he's won, including the finals. Whenever he's lost a game, he's never ended up winning the major, which you may think is normal, but actually quite a lot of world major champions did drop games during the tournaments. Shin Jinseo, once he's dropped a game, he doesn't seem to recover. And most of the world majors now, though, are straight knockouts, except for the final. But even Shin Jinseo, once he loses one game in the final, he seems to end up losing the final. So,
and of course that happened first in the when Shin Jinseo played Chen Yaoye, he lost, and then when Shin Jinseo also failed to secure a title against Kerje the first time he tried, and it's therefore Game 2 is going to be very, very crucial. So let's look at what happened in Game 2. Now, Game 2 is where Shin Jinseo, I would say, I would say Game 2 is where Gu Zihao really shined. Of course, they have to switch colors in Game 2. And Gu Zihao got the white, and Shin Jinseo got black. So it's a little bit of a tougher game for Shin Jinseo. But there was something that was really, really interesting about in Game 2. I think Shin Jinseo started well. Like he made a little bit of dumpling shape of Gu Zihao. But the moment I really want to focus on is when they started fighting here, and there was a very, according to pros, one of Shin Jinseo's clear mistakes. So when the game got up to here, we got Shin Jinseo connecting, and then Gu Zihao jumping out. So that's fine. But I guess the key point now is that the black group on the right-hand side, this could be under attack, because now if once white gets strong here, this white push and cut becomes a reality. So I guess it would make sense for black to maybe, for example, spend one more move in the middle to strengthen it. But black didn't. Black wanted to more points. Black play here instead to destroy white's left. So Xie made a very interesting comment about Shin Jinseo's style now. He said Shin Jinseo's style has now become what he call a territorial genie. So he's after territory all the time. He's looking for territory. he's looking at the points very closely, and this is again it epitomizes Shin Jinseo's style. He just wants to destroy more territory, and maybe perhaps leaving himself open to a little bit of a attack. And this is the first interesting point on the game, and also according to I believe a lot of commentators, the turning point in the game, because Gu Zihao did not hesitate. He just push and cut, and so there's some fighting going on. And now it ends up being that Shin Jinseo's got a little bit. The group got into a little bit of trouble, and now both groups are now in trouble after they got cut off. So Gu Zihao was able to bully the groups around. Ultimately, Shin Jinseo still plays so beautifully here, including causing some trouble in the corner. This is going to be a very difficult reading exercise in the corner. Gu Zihao needs to find the right move to neutralize Black's threat there, because Black just managed to create something, somewhat of a threat for White in the corner. But Gu Zihao played flawlessly. That's actually the right move, and then this is coming up to the second moment where I thought it's very notable. So now Shin Jinseo tries to make this group live, and the commentator was saying, well, can Shin Jinseo, once Gu Zihao pushed here, and after Gu Zihao played here, has Gu Zihao read it all out? What if Black clamps, which is exactly what Shin Jinseo played. Can Gu Zihao play this move, which is the block? That's actually a crucial question that all the commentators were asking. And to my eyes, I would say that this looks very, very tough, because this is the obvious move, something like that, or like that. Can White actually even get out? And not only that, because Gu Zihao decided to attack Black all the way starting from now, so probably Gu Zihao have read out the sequence read out the sequence for when Black clamps much earlier, like way before the clamp actually happened. Gaza, I'll show you the beautiful moment now. So Shin Jinseo play one of the moves to try and capture, put some pressure on White. But let's see how White gets out of trouble. It's just a little bit of a magic, I guess. He firstly attaches, and when you Hane, this is a magic move. Jump here. This is so unexpected, Gaza. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this move. Like, how can he just have read this out? To say that if we play here, Black cannot disconnect White. And actually Black cannot, because White played there, connect. And now White's almost connected back to there. But Shin Jinseo tries to cause some trouble. But according to the commentary, Gu Zihao read this flawlessly. He did not make a mistake over here. So even though Shin Jinseo almost captured this White group, White was able to escape unscathed. And by this point, what you'll notice is that actually this Black group is dead on the left. This Black group on the left is dead. So according to at this point, the Chinese commentators were bringing out the champagnes already, because they know that unless something catastrophic happens, Gu Zihao's got this in the bag. So it was pretty much 1-1. And Gu Zihao didn't let Shin Jinseo have any more chance. He just protected himself. And now you realize there's a huge dead group over here. And Shin Jinseo resigned. So, flawless performance by Gu Zihao. What do you think, Gaza?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, it was good reading.
Yeah. It was just I found this move really so beautiful. This move down here.
My move of the game I liked was move 54.
54.
I thought this was the first move where Gu Zihao took the initiative.
Right.
And it was interesting because the AI actually said it was suboptimal, and actually said that this was the first point of the game where Black was above 50%.
Right.
But I don't believe in blindly just following the AI evaluation, because this is not an AI game; it's a human game.
Yes.
And it turned out that at this point, Shin Jinseo actually spent quite a bit of time thinking about how to respond to this attachment, and that's time that he didn't have later on in the game.
Right. Yes.
And I think it was also taken maybe a bit by surprise
Mm.
as well, and I don't think he responded, perfectly. It wasn't easy to find
Yeah.
the best moves, and it's what caused all these complications in the first place.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, Gu Zihao did take the initiative in this game.
Mm. Yeah. And so basically now it's 1-1. And Gaza, that statistics of Shin Jinseo losing the final, if he has lost one game, that that may come back to haunt Shin Jinseo. Can Shin Jinseo, make this time different? So I think that's what the crucial next game is. And interestingly, the third game has no rest day, so preceding it. So basically, after they finish the second game, the very next day they have to play the third game. So, yeah, and of course, Gu Zihao is now 1-1, and I guess his morale is high, and Shin Jinseo, after having lost one game, he just might be thinking that he shouldn't have studied the London Opening that much the other night. But Gaza, let's get to the third and final game. It was a cracker of a game. Gaza, were you watching the game live?
After the first, I didn't watch the first 2 hours or so, but I
Yeah.
was watching after that.
Yeah. Now, I believe the first game and the third game had Michael Redmond doing the commentary, so it was quite a treat for those who managed to.
Oh yes,
tune in.
Michael Redmond doing live commentary for
Yes,
anyone
yes.
who wanted some English live commentary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and what's happened in the game was that I believe Shin Jinseo had raised to a early lead. Let's put it this way. And so let's look at how Shin Jinseo got into that lead. I just show you the position. Oh, by the way, when Gu Zihao, this game Gu Zihao is black, Shin Jinseo is white. So Shin Jinseo has got a little bit of lucky by drawing white twice. Of course, as we mentioned, white is considered to have a little bit of an advantage. Gaza, actually, maybe on a side note about white's advantage, this is a graph that we have produced for the win rate for the pro games throughout the since 2003, so about 20 years of. As you can see here, what is plotting is the white's win rate. As you can see that for games that are Komi 7.5, white's win rate has always been higher than if your Komi is 6.5, which is kind of somewhere below here. So, and of course, this line here is the 50%, and this was when 2016 was when AlphaGo was introduced. And something very interesting is that for Komi 6.5, the win rate is also converging towards Komi 7.5. And in the most recent year for which data is available, which is 2023, they have basically converged to be around 53%. This is very interesting to me because, this is very interesting to me because a lot of the pro players now, they said that they prefer white. So getting white is a huge advantage. I think one of the reasons why it's a huge advantage is because the pros can study AI's response, and white, since it plays second, you can kind of just wait for black to make a move, and then you kind of just study how you should respond to it. So that was quite interesting. So maybe, if this trend continues, maybe we could argue for adjusting the Komi back to 5.5. But of course, that's just beside the point now. We want to talk about the Lanke Cup. Someone in the chat mentioned that the 58% also win rate before 2003 was crazy. That could be maybe just for a couple of years, maybe an anomaly. Maybe it kind of you kind of have to look at the average, which is about 54 or so. So yeah, a very interesting observation, but interesting that, but clearly White's got a slightly higher win rate than Black. So therefore, Shin Jinseo drawing White twice is, would you say, a little bit lucky? But
Well,
yeah,
if you do recall, he drew Black in every game prior to the final.
right, yeah,
So he had Black 5 out of 7 games in this tournament.
yeah. And when I was watching the Kifu, I thought Shin Jinseo was definitely gonna win. I think, if I'm not wrong, this was this beautiful move that Shin Jinseo played was, I can't remember if it was AI's first choice as well, but it might have been. If I'm not wrong, when I read the commentary, it says that in this game, the first 70 moves, Shin Jinseo had played every move exactly as AI would, fine art. So I imagine, because this is move 46, this would have been an AI move as well. So I thought this move, I thought was, I was going to nominate as a move of the year. It was just quite good to look at. But I'll quickly skip over to the part where Shin Jinseo has taken a fairly decisive lead at the beginning. Okay, not decisive, but what most even pros would consider a fairly decent lead. So that's what happened. So White's got all of this territory on the top, every single point, all of it. So Black's in exchange got the outside and a bit of influence. But this game, of course, is not over. It's still playable. It's just that most pros would consider this a lot harder to play for Black than White, because White's got so much cash. So that's, and the game continues. So Gu Zihao tries to make the best of it, trying to make things complicated by fighting White over here in the middle. And one of our friends, he was very impressed with this move, because this apparently is also AI's move. So yeah, this is but Gu Zihao decides to take some points at this point, and this is where the turning point of the game happens, Gaza. So when White threatened to push and cut Black, Gu Zihao played a very interesting move, which is here. Now, most of the commentators said that Shin Jinseo responded incorrectly by playing here. I guess
That's correct.
yes.
He
Now,
needed to play on the other side, I believe.
yes. So like for players at my level, I would kind of imagine that I'll kind of just play here without thinking too much. But the pro commentary was saying that if White had played here, then because obviously now if Black plays here, then if Black doesn't protect the cut, for example, if Black plays elsewhere, then of course there's a push and cut here. So protecting this push and cut is basically Black's number one priority. So the obvious move to protect that is this. But also connecting works, but we'll not discuss that. The other way to protect against this cut is actually to play here. Now, if White had responded there, then this becomes a little bit painful for White. So imagine if White plays here, then Black can Hane. So I think the commentary was saying that at this point, White should just Hane. And if Black blocks, then White can come back here, because now this is no longer Sente. So therefore, Black cannot block. Black must play somewhere else. So therefore, White later on has a huge Yosei move here. So that was kind of the normal response. But of course, Shin Jinseo didn't want Black to have that Hane down there. So Shin Jinseo responded here. Now, at my level, I would not be able to tell in a million years why that is a mistake. In fact, AI never thought that was a mistake. But then Gu Zihao played here to connect. Obviously, later on, there's some kind of a cut here. And this is where Shin Jinseo supposedly got into a little bit of a deep think. And it felt like that he was slapping himself in the neck. Perhaps he thought he was made a mistake here, Gaza. This is a very, very interesting turning point in the game. So Shin Jinseo started slapping himself, and after 20 minutes, he decides to protect in the corner. So apparently, if he didn't do that, Black's got something that Black can do in the corner, which would have made the corner into a ko. And that was what Shin Jinseo was beating himself up about. The fact that it could have from a clean living corner to potentially needing a ko to live. But according to AI, actually Shin Jinseo didn't need to worry. Shin Jinseo could play elsewhere because if Gu Zihao played in the middle, apparently even under the best variation, which is supposedly this move, Shin Jinseo still was able to. I believe he's still able to. Get a ko out of it. So that's
And
not
a
a
co
big
is
problem.
fine, right?
Yeah, supposedly a ko is fine. Yes. So, but of course, I can
It's
imagine.
very hard to know when a co is fine and when it's not.
Correct. I guess for a human player, it's very very tough, especially if you thought that your group was going to be alive no matter what, and suddenly you realize, oh damn, actually, it's actually just lived by ko. It affects your emotional state a lot. So I think, and also given the Shin Jinseo, so I think by this point in the game, both players are down to around 20 minutes, if I'm not wrong. And Shin Jinseo have spent like 20 minutes on here, something like that. I can't remember. But therefore, that's what Shin Jinseo spent a lot of time, and he ended up getting into time trouble later on as well. So the tide have started turning in Gu Zihao's favor. And the next crucial thing that happened was Shin Jinseo decides to come in here to destroy some of Black's territory. So something very interesting happened after Black jumps. Actually, this whole black dragon, white dragon here, Shin Jinseo's dragon here, is actually not alive. So Shin Jinseo must connect back. So Shin Jinseo starts connecting back, and at this point, apparently the commentator was saying Gu Zihao has a couple of options. The devil is always in having more options than you need, because if you only have one option, you know there's only one way to go. But if you have a couple of options, you might just end up choosing the wrong one. So apparently the wrong choice here would be for Black to Hane here, and then White would just go, okay, you can take points there, I'll connect here, and then Black can take some points here, no problem. So that would have been the wrong choice supposedly, because that would allow Shin Jinseo to play it out as a Yosei game. That would may or may not be advantageous for Gu, but Gu supposedly chose the right choice. He, instead of Haneing down under, he goes, I'm gonna kill White. So Gu Zihao is betting a lot on this. And Gaza, guess what happened?
What?
He messed up Shin Jinseo for good. So now.
You said he messed up. I was.
No.
He messed up Shin Jinseo.
Yeah. Shin Jinseo got messed up. Now Shin Jinseo resigned at this point. The left-hand side corner is dead if Black spends one more move. It's
not. I don't think it's dead. It's not dead.
Right.
I think the problem is that Black just got too much.
Right.
Like just damaged too much of it.
Right.
White can live, but there's no point anymore. White's very behind.
Yes. So and this is quite devastating. And Shin Jinseo has basically lost this game. And what that means is Gu Zihao's actually won the first Lanka Cup. And he was, the underdog. Shin Jinseo is not invincible. Crazy stuff.
Yes, and you lost a lot of Fox coins.
Yes, I did, but I guess that's kind of okay because it was a good show. Maybe I think of it as having paid for the admission.
It feels like Shin Jinseo didn't like. I've mentioned before that Shin Jinseo's time management is one of the best
Yes.
around, but this game was definitely an exception. In fact, all three games he was tended to be Gu Zihao tended to be moving faster than Shin Jinseo.
Yeah.
And this game in particular, Shin Jinseo, I think, got into Byoyomi, earlier than he should have. And I'm sure that's what that had a big contribution to him losing this game in the end.
Yes.
He I will commend Gu Zihao for playing some good attacking moves, good aggressive moves, and not being passive. But I would say that Shin Jinseo seemed to underperform in this final.
Yes. So now the curse.
That is no, but I also want to say full credit to Gu Zihao. He deserved to win.
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
So the curse of Shin Jinseo not being able to finish off a title when he's lost just one game continues.
Yes, and that's for international. It is interesting because it's clear that he didn't have the mental toughness
Ooh.
in this final
Yes.
to win it.
Yes.
He's clearly got the ability, but he didn't have the mental toughness. But the strange thing is, you've mentioned before other world finals that he's lost, but there are other times when outside of world majors where his back's been against the wall and he's come out swinging and emerged victorious.
Yes.
There's been lots of domestic finals where he's gone to sudden death games and won.
Yeah.
Of course, they are domestic tournaments, and some people seem to be really, really good at domestic tournaments but struggle in internationals, like Zhu Hong or Yama Yuta.
Yep.
So, but then you've also got the Nongshim Cup, which is it's an international tournament. It's a team event, and Shin Jinseo mostly plays against Chinese players because when it gets to him, most of the Japanese players are already eliminated.
Right. Yep.
And the last 10 times he's played a game in the Nongshim Cup, he's won. And for 5 of those games, they were must-win games. For the last 5 times he's played in the Nongshim Cup, it was a must-win game. If he lost, his team was eliminated.
Yep.
And he's won.
Yeah.
And the last such game was against Gu Zihao himself. So it's interesting that when he's playing domestically or in the Nongshim Cup, he seems to handle the pressure fine. And even in the JAR League, the last 2 seasons of the JAR League in the finals, he's done pretty well.
Yep.
He's won when it mattered.
Yep.
But in World Majors, he still seems to have a bit of the yips.
Yes.
You'd say.
Yeah. Now, Shaker did say in an interview that he doesn't think that Shin Jinseo is as great as Lee Chang-ho. I guess having herself being compared with Lee Chang-ho, of course, is already a huge honor. But I don't know. Maybe Shaker is maybe just either trying to what do you say? Rub Shin Jinseo the wrong way, trying to gain a bit of a mental advantage or whatever it is. But it's a very interesting comment for.
It's
Shaker
an
to
interesting
make.
comment. I'd wonder if he'd say the same thing about Ke and Lee Chang-ho.
Wow.
I mean,
I honestly don't think Quzhou is definitely at the same level. But,
but it is interesting because I remember seeing a post on Reddit. Someone, it was like Lee Chang-ho's birthday or something, and and someone posted, happy birthday to the to the greatest player since Go Seigen, which I would agree with in regards to Lee Chang-ho. And one of the top comments mentioned Shin Jinseo and just how amazing he is. And I'm like, I didn't respond to it, but I was thinking, Shin Jinseo is great and all, but look at Lee Chang-ho's record. It speaks for itself.
yes.
Even in the Nongshim Cup, Lee Chang-ho has a better record.
Yes.
than Shin Jinseo. Li Changho is an absolute legend. And he's won, like, for instance, Li Changho has won 18 world majors.
17. Oh, it depends on how you count it, I guess.
He's won 18.
Yes.
Wait, let me check my stats.
Yes, well, we don't count the the Taiwanese run in the so-called internationals.
Oh, is that part of my 18? Wait.
Yes.
Wait.
I'm pretty sure he's won 17.
17 world majors. That's what I
Yes.
meant. Yeah,
Yes.
17. He's won 17 world majors.
Yes.
Even Quzhou, who is an absolute champion, hasn't even won half. He's won 8, which is not even half that many.
And will not grow that total any further.
Well, you've made lots of predictions in the past, but Shin Jinseo, for instance, he's won 4, and for many players, winning 4 majors is, it's pretty impressive. Like, people would be happy with that. Like, for instance, like someone like Park Jun-sang, he's won 1 major.
Yeah.
And he's probably thought he's had a great career. But Shin Jinseo, like Xiao Dai at a buffet, he's hungry. He wants to eat everything.
Yeah.
Right? And he's not satisfied anytime he loses. Even if it doesn't have any sort of consequences, like in a league or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, there's some very interesting comments in the chat saying that obviously Quzhou is nowhere near Li Changho. Okay, sure. And the other one is people have recency bias. So obviously they would put Shin Jinseo much higher than he probably should be considered, just because it's more recent. Now, as great as Li Changho is, at the twilight of his world majors career, he's managed to get himself into 9 consecutive 9 finals, but losing all of them. Like, he made 9 finals but lost all of them. So therefore, his record ends up being 17 titles but 11 runner-ups overall. So that's huge. Now, speaking about titles and runner-ups, there's an interesting statistics you mentioned about Shin Jinseo, about his title run and and the number of runner-ups that he has, Gaza. Do you also remember that one?
Okay, so I didn't think it was that interesting, but he's never had more titles than runner-ups.
Yes.
Yeah, so currently he has 4 titles, 5 runner-ups.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now something that was interesting that Chinese netizens have mentioned online is that Shin Jinseo have made 9 finals now, but he's lost more than he's won. So that makes him 4-5 in finals. Now Quzhou has of course made 10 finals and won 8. So at this rate, even though that chances are Shin Jinseo will overtake Quzhou in terms of the number of titles.
Well, that's a big call.
It's I mean, Shin Jinseo is very, very close. Shin Jinseo have another crack at it at the Qingyuan Cup later on in the year, guaranteed. So actually, Shin Jinseo actually could go up to 5 titles, and if not more.
Well, I'd ask you to bet Fox coins on it, but then I just realized you don't have any.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, you got to start somewhere. But I'll tell you, I didn't collect all my Fox coins by collecting 50,000 at a time. I got most of my Fox coins by betting that Quzhou will lose. And how good was that?
Oh my God.
You can't believe it, can you? So after this one, now Shin Jinseo also mentioned something very interesting in an interview earlier. Is that he said his goal for his career is to win 12 titles. That would put him number 3 on the all-time world major title list, behind just Li Changho and Lee Sedol at 14. I can also guess, kind of secretly, Shin Jinseo is thinking maybe he could have a crack at overtaking Lee Sedol. But I'm not sure. But Lee Sedol and Li Changho both have much better success rates than Shin Jinseo at this moment in terms of the title holds. Lee Sedol, for example, has won 14 titles and 6 runner-ups. That's a much, much higher number a much better percentage than Shin Jinseo. And there's a question about why 12. I have absolutely no idea, but I think Shin Jinseo just plucked it out of somewhere. So that's the Shin Jinseo and his little
on the other end of the spectrum, though, you have Chang Hao, who has 3 titles and 8 runner-ups.
Right. Yes. But Chang Hao has a little bit of the misfortune of being born in the era of Li Changhe, and also born in the was trained under the Chinese system, which was just not as competitive as the Korean one back in his time, which is, I believe, it was trained in the 80s. So it seems to me that the training that the Koreans got during the same period were a lot more rigorous. And you can tell from the results. So I don't know. So that's the. By the way, there's a post on Reddit, if you look for it, called the top performers in international majors, that lists down all the players and their number of titles and runner-ups. So it's got a ranking of all the players, so you can see how the players stack up. It hasn't been updated for the last couple of tournaments, but it's still very, very good.
I can tell you that one's going to be updated after the In Cup.
Very nice, very nice. Looking forward to it. Of course, after is basically an infinite time frame, so let's just see what happens there. So, Gaza, this concludes the Quzhou-Lanke Cup, the first Quzhou-Lanke Cup. A Chinese player has won, Gu Zihao. In fact, this gave the Chinese players a huge morale boost. It was so much that Tang Weixing, in his Weibo, just said that this is such a huge win. This is such a huge morale boost for the Chinese players. Gu Zihao said that it was a breakthrough for him to beat Shin Jinseo in the final. Tang Weixing then went on to say that the Chinese were about to give out the In Cup prize money to Shin Jinseo right away already, but they decided to hold it back after this win. So Shaker must be also thinking that he's got a chance now to beat Shin Jinseo. So let's just wait and see what happens. Really exciting stuff coming up. But first Quzhou-Lanke Cup goes to Gu Zihao. So congrats, Gu Zihao. And Gaza, I guess it's time for us to move on to the next topic.
Yep.
Which is the Qingyuan Cup.
The quarterfinals.
The quarterfinals. I guess last time we were up to the quarterfinals. And
we finished the round of 16.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And we got the quarterfinals draw. And let's just go through the results of the quarterfinals. The big one, Yu Zhiying versus Fujisawa Arena. This was a little bit of a surprise because supposedly before the game, Yu Zhiying has an 8-2 record versus Fujisawa, but Fujisawa's got the better of Yu Zhiying. Apparently, it wasn't such a good game for Yu. Fujisawa had a pretty comprehensive good win there. So congrats to Fujisawa for making the semi. And then you got Fenrosi and New Aiko. Now, we said that this is the best chance for a Japanese player to make the semi-final this game. And it looked like that New Aiko was leading for quite a bit of the game. In fact, if you look at the reversal percentage, it's a reversal at 95%. But what happened was Fang Roshi managed to reverse the game, even though she was down to 5%, and ended up winning by 5.5 points. So Japan's hopes were dashed there, but Fujisawa Arena's already made it. So definitely at least one Japanese player in the semi. Now then we got Choi Jong versus Ueno Asami. Guys, I don't. If I'm not wrong, Ueno Asami beat Choi Jong in the Hoban Cup.
They have a bit of a history,
right?
They have a They had a 2-2 record, I believe.
Right.
In the past. Let me just quickly check. So last year they played twice. They played in last year's Wu Qingyuan Cup quarterfinal. Choi Jong won that. And then they played in the Hoban Cup, and Yuno Asami won that one.
Nice.
So this is a replay. They played in the quarterfinals of the Wu Qingyuan Cup 2 years in a row. Yuno Asami was hoping to avenge her previous Qingyuan Cup loss, while Choi Jong was hoping to avenge the Hobart Cup loss. And in the end, Choi Jong emerged victorious.
And so Choi Jong managed to beat Yuan Osami and progress. I think it was a good, decent fighting game, but I think Choi Jong just proved too strong. So now we have one Japanese, one Chinese, and one Korean in the semi-final. And the last game, Kim Chae-young versus Jo Hong-yu. Jo Hong-yu actually beat Kim Chae-young in a reversal as well. So the semi-finalists are Fujisawa Arena, Fan Roshi, Choi Jong, and Jo Hong-yu. So it's fairly even representation from all three countries. So China, 2 players, 1 Korean and 1 Japanese in the semi-finals. So
yes, and who are playing? We do know the draw.
We do know the draw. The draw is Jo Hong-yu versus Fujisawa Arena and Fang Roshi versus Choi Jong. So I guess it could happen that China have no player in the final. So hey, that's
you would suspect that Choi Jong and Jo Hong-yu would be the favorites.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
They're both previous Wu Qingyuan Cup champions, and in fact, the other 2 players, Fujisawa Arena and Fang Roshi, have never made a international final.
Right. Yes. And I guess the player with the least, known name is Fang Roshi. Of course, she's a noted player in China, but seeing her in the semi-final, that's a little bit of a surprise. But let's see how she does with Choi Jong. So that's it for the 6th Wu Qingyuan Cup, Gaza. I guess it's time for checking out the calendar.
Yeah, we do have some other events that have happened. We've skipped several events over the weeks, but we're going to skip them again. Is that right?
Yeah.
We'll try and do them
hopefully next week. Now, Nagasa, I think some of the events we skipped over. One of the big one is the Aizu Central Hospital Cup, Game 1 and 2, which happened this week.
Yes, the Aizu Central Hospital Cup.
Yes.
Are we going to talk about that now, or we wait until? I think we should wait that until next week because that's not finished yet.
Correct, because next week it actually got all the way to Game 3, which is going to happen tomorrow, as of this recording, and also in next week we also have the Honimbo Game 4 between Yama and Ichiriki Rio. So
wow,
yeah, massive. So Ichiriki is leading 2-1, I believe. So then we also, I'm not sure what also happens next week.
Next week in Korea we have the Korea Women's Strongest.
Yes.
Sponsored by Dr. G.
Dr. G.
Now, this year it's a double elimination.
Right.
Compared to last year, which was a league, this year they're doing double elimination, similar to the Myeongin. But with only 8 players instead of 16. But yeah, the previous 2 years they had an 8-player league. So they're switching it up. Maybe they can't afford to spend that much on game fees anymore.
Right.
Who knows? But
who knows? Yep.
But the first round will take place next week. You've got all the strong women's players from Korea: Choi Jong, Eugene, Kim Yoon-ji, Kim Chae-young, along with Hyo So-hyun, the legend Cho Hee-hyun, Lee Min-jin, and someone else. Who did I miss? Oh, Cho Shong-ah.
Yes.
Right. And what other big event that's happening? An international event, in fact.
Yep.
The Senior World Championship.
Very nice.
Yes. Now, this one should feature Lee Chang-ho and Chang Hao.
Oh, wow.
As well as defending champion Yu Chang-hyuk and the legend himself, holder of the record for most wins in history, Cho Hun-hyun.
Oh. What about Nie Wei-ping? Is he coming?
Nie Wei-ping is probably playing. He will probably be playing, actually.
Right.
I was going to make a joke about his health, but then decided that probably isn't a good idea.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
No, he's probably going to be playing. But there's also some really good Korean players like Ol Rise, Ol Mayin. I think Ol Mayin.
You mean Japanese players?
Japanese players. Yeah,
Yep.
They should probably be playing. I don't have the I don't think I have the draw.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly who's playing.
Okay. I guess we're gonna check it out. There's a question in the chat asking when is the next World Championship? I'm not sure if there's a World Championship as such, but I've heard that in July.
Well, there's the Seniors World Championship.
Right, Senior World Championship, yes. But I heard the LG Cup is returning in July, if I'm not wrong, and then or maybe the
no, it's not returning in July. The answer of the next one
Cup.
is
Qingyuan Cup.
Nope, it's the M Lily Cup.
M Lily Cup. Oh yes.
The M Lily Cup starts at the beginning of August the 3rd.
Very nice.
Yes.
And of course, in July we got the Qingyuan Cup final, and in August we got the In Cup final as well.
No. The Qingyuan Cup's not in July. There's no schedule there's no schedule yet.
Okay. Well,
wait, maybe there is, but it's not in this. It's not in the calendar.
Okay, sure.
It's not in the schedule. It hasn't been scheduled yet.
Okay.
It might happen. Something might happen in July, but as of now, the next scheduled event for internationals, is the M Lily Cup on August 3rd.
Very nice. Someone in the chat did say that the Qingyuan Cup final for Korean Beng Sang-yeol versus Li Chunhao of China is going to be in July. So,
it is?
Yes.
Okay, I don't see it in the calendar. I'm looking at the Korean website calendar.
Right. On my one it says July 17th. So that's the game one. So let's see.
Oh, sweet. Okay. No, that's cool. Cool.
Now, of course, no Chinese website now actually lists the Chinese calendar. There used to be one that tries to list it, but even that's been shut down. So I have absolutely no idea what's happening in the Chinese scene. But nothing, I guess, in the next week. And I guess that's as good as it gets.
There's the Senior World Championship.
Or the Senior World Championship, yes. So that's it. That covers the calendar. I guess, Gaza, that's another episode for us, unless you have something you want to mention.
Nope.
Oh, good. So I guess it's time to say bye. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, everyone. We had a fairly high watch. Look, we've got 5 people watching now. That's
yes. I think I picked at 8, Gaza, if I'm not wrong. Yes.
Oh wow.
Wow, it's amazing viewership. I can't believe it. 8 is an auspicious number in China.
Very thanks. Very
Thank you very
much.
much. Yeah, let's
Kamsahamnida.
Right. And sayonara.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Gaza.